Hello, my name is Matthew Pfeiffer with MattPfeifferCoaching.com. Welcome to my YouTube channel. On this channel, I create videos about toxic, narcissistically abusive relationships. And if you have a question that you would like for me to answer on this channel, make sure you send it to justaskmatt@MattPfeifferCoaching.com. Again, that is justaskmatt@MattPfeifferCoaching.com. Just make sure you keep that email 2 to 3 paragraphs max, and you're also very direct and to the point of what your question actually is. If it's too long, if it's too lengthy, unfortunately, I will not be able to answer it. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe notification. Also, hit the bell notification so you're notified each and every time I upload a new video. I upload videos on here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. However, the fastest way to work with me, if you would like to work with me, the fastest way is go down to the links down below. I have several different offers, but the fastest way to work with me is to be a part of my coaching community. And there is a free 7-day trial when you join through the link down below. With all that being said, let's get into this email. So this email comes from a person. This is actually someone who is dealing with a narcissistic sibling. And so one of the things that I enjoy about my channel is that we talk about narcissism from all different types of perspectives, not just romantic. Even though a lot of people come to me about a romantic relationship, it can be a sister, it can be a sibling, it can be a toxic workplace. So with that being said, let's get into this. So my sister is a lawyer. We used to be very close until I started disagreeing with her. It's very common that you don't notice that someone is narcissistic until all of a sudden, when you start setting boundaries, when you have a voice, all of a sudden their true colors come through. This is the reason why you hear me so often saying that you need to set boundaries early and often with people, because you'll be able to tell the difference between someone who is truly narcissistic and toxic versus someone who is really looking for a good, healthy relationship with you. So let me continue with this email. We used to be very close until I started to disagree with her as far as her interference in others' lives, in particular my mother and stepfather. As a result, I am now estranged from my sibling, and I'm very sorry to hear that. My sister has gone as far as creating a false identity, so what she's referring to as a smear campaign, right? So she's telling everyone false statements and false accusations of her, and she says, and my husband and I. I have letters and memos written to me that contain information about how horrible these people are, as she has created. We have been threatened and falsely accused. So all these people that she's doing the smear campaign are now threatening this person and threatening her husband. She has cut off all communication with me, and we only speak through my mom's lawyer, and of course, according to my sister's rules. So the sister is the one that is controlling everything, even through her mom's lawyer. She's tried to ruin many of my relationships and spreading her lies against me, again with the smear campaign, right? All very telling of someone who's narcissistic, someone who's toxic, someone who's possibly somewhere else on the cluster B spectrum. Mom passed away, and we are dealing with the estate. First of all, I'm very sorry for your mom's loss. And so these type of things, but I want to mention this. These type of things, when we're dealing with a narcissist and you are dealing with the loss of a loved one, when you deal with a job loss, some sort of major impact of life, you typically see the narcissist that you're dealing with, regardless if we're talking about a sibling or someone that you're dating or a spouse or a significant other, they typically get worse. The reason why is because we all have a healthy level of narcissism, right? Someone who doesn't have narcissistic personality disorder has a healthy level of narcissism. Well, guess what? We become slightly narcissistic when we lose someone, when times get rough. We need to make everything all about ourselves until we get back on our feet. Well, guess what? Now you're a threat to the narcissist because this is their way of life. And so with this passing of the mother, this is going to create a storm, right? And this is going to create havoc because now you have two people that are, just like you mentioned before, once you started to disagree with her, once you had a voice, now that you're not that pushover, now that you're not being a people pleaser, now all of a sudden there's an issue, right? Same thing here with the passing of your mother, and we'll hear a lot of those elements as we go along. A few years ago, my sister went behind my back and removed me as executor, replacing me with my brother. This is very common. I have heard this. I've dealt with people in situations like this over and over again. The narcissist has to have control in situations like this. This email continues. The siblings started spending the estate's money. Mom had dementia, but on her clear days, she knew she was being taken advantage of. But you didn't say this, but obviously with mom having dementia, but also with her being older, this is something that's very common that I deal with. Typically doesn't like seeing the siblings fight. So mom, instead of speaking up for herself, instead of saying something to her lawyer, just kind of lets things go in her last days because she just doesn't want the fight. It's very common to see that. Not saying that was the situation, but something I see very often. Money is still being spent during probate, and I am appalled. I am giving little information and have pleaded with my mom's lawyer to protect my parents' estate. This is a very key statement. I'm going to be circling back to that here shortly. I'm going to read that again. I am giving very little information and have pleaded with my mom's lawyer. Keep in mind, this is not the sister. This is the mom's lawyer, the person that's supposed to be on her side, to protect my parents' estate. But so far, mom's lawyer sides with my sister. Key statement. We're going to circle back to that here in a second. I met with my mom's lawyer and sister, and we agreed on some steps. This is also important. I met with my mom's lawyer and sister, and we agreed on some steps to improve communication. I recently learned, though, my sister disregarded our agreement, so is not going by the agreement, and twice made false statements, again with the false statements and with the smear campaign, to our minister. There will be excuses and explanations, but I can't take it anymore. You had suggested to expose, which is what we are thinking. I rarely, if ever, suggest to expose anyone. I have many documents to back me up. I have statements already made to go to my mom's lawyer. Is that how we should proceed? Here's the issue in this. So I would not expose your sister. That's not going to help. That, if anything, that will make things much, much worse. There's very, very, very few, seldom times at a last resort that I ever tell anyone to expose. And even in that situation, it needs to be very, very calculated. And I'm not even going to get into that right now. Right? But this is not that situation. We do not expose narcissists. It makes things 10 times worse, especially in a situation like this. Your sister is not going to change. Your sister is always going to try to have control. Is always going to try to, we have to, just like with smear campaigns, we don't do anything about the smear campaign. We let people think what they want to think, right? It's unfortunate. We're going to lose people. We're going to lose friends. We're going to lose family through the smear campaign. But if we lose them, they were never on your side to begin with. They were looking for reasons not to like you. Now, here's the issue. I'm going to circle back to some of these statements that we mentioned. I'm given little information and have pleaded with my mom's lawyer. This is supposed to be the person that's supposed to protect the estate. That's their job, to deal with and to handle things like this. But so far, mom's lawyer sides with the sister. That's where your problem is your mom's lawyer is not doing their job. So the very first step that I would tell you to do is that you need to go get a consultation from one or two other lawyers to talk about this situation. The reason why is because the lawyer, number one, is not doing their job, is not fulfilling. It doesn't sound like they're fulfilling the wishes of your mother's estate. Anytime you have, regardless if you're going through a divorce or anything like that, what you mentioned in terms of you're given very little information, she's being paid for a reason, to help clear things up legally. You don't know law. You don't understand legal estates and things like that, right? That's why they're there, right? To facilitate a lot of this crap. And so here's the thing about not all lawyers. I think there's a lot of great lawyers and things like that. However, I'm going to circle back to another statement that you mentioned. I met with my mom's lawyer and sister, and we agreed, not that one, that she sides with your sister. Quite often, lawyers, when they're pressured from the narcissist, a lot of times they do agree with the narcissist, because guess what? It makes her job easy. She doesn't have to fight. One of the things I learned about lawyers and dealing with a lot of lawyers, a lot of them, not all of them, right? Some of them will do this. A lot of them don't like to fight. They don't like to go to court. They don't like to go to trial. And as long as there's someone, right, that they can get to cave, this is what happens in a lot of divorces. And it relates to this. So they will fight for you in the beginning, right? They will say everything that they want, right? But when they see that there's a narcissist on the other side and that person begins to push, they start to realize that this job is too big for me. I'm going to have to go to trial. I'm going to have to do all this paperwork. So guess what? Instead of actually doing the paperwork, guess what they do? They start to apply more pressure on their own client to cave to the demands of the narcissist. If you're not careful, if you don't recognize this type of behavior, your sister is not going to change, period. Right? The smear campaign will continue. She's going to try to control. This is just how narcissists are. Your issue is with the lawyer. So I would highly suggest for you to have conversations outside of this bubble with other lawyers, other attorneys, to help represent you or the estate. I'm not sure what can be done, if anything, but that's what lawyers are for, right? To help clear some of this up. So your very first step is I would talk to one or two other lawyers outside of this situation to get some clarity on how to proceed, how to protect yourself, how to protect your mother's estate, take them all the paperwork, take them all the documentation and the communication, right? I have a feeling they're going to find a lot of different things that are happening that are not supposed to happen the way that they're supposed to happen. And because you're going to someone else, that's when you can start holding possibly the lawyer and your sister and whoever else needs to be held accountable for not executing the state the way that it should be. So thank you very much for writing in. For those of you who would like for me to answer a question, make sure you send it to justaskmatt@mattpfeiffercoaching.com. Again, that is justaskmatt@mattpfeiffercoaching.com. Make sure you keep that email 2 to 3 paragraphs max. You're also very direct and to the point of what your question actually is. And again, the fastest way to work with me is to go down to the links down below. You can go to my coaching community. You can join my coaching community, and it is we give a free 7-day trial for people who are joining from here. So make sure you take full advantage of that. And thank you very much. And I will see you in the next video.